Yo.
Yo.
It's the
What's up,
Anything
everybody?
for a Bit Sportscast.
Sportscast. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, AFAB fam.
Whew. Season's
Been
over. Officially over, not just our season.
Yeah. My season is just starting, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
It's draft season, baby. This is what I
Yeah.
live for. I am very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Couple week hiatus there. Happy to be back with everybody though. Rocking this thing. We are going to get into some draft talk, but where are we kicking things off today, Ty?
Well, let's start the show today, AFAB fam, with the Super Bowl wrap up.
AFAB fam.
What?
Man, hold on. Side note, I have been over this last 3 weeks, I've spent way too much time modeling t-shirt designs in my head, right? I got AFAB fam. There's a big AFAB across the center with the little swoopy sports thing, the client that says fam on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we've got Juan's favorite my name is Mr. Statistics on the chest. Then another one, statistics matter, right?
That's probably a hat. I feel like it's
a big ID label right here that says my name is Mr. Statistics.
Mr. Statistics.
People be looking at me like I'm a crazy person, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just, you said AFAB fam, had me thinking like I got a shirt idea. I want like a 3/4 sleeve baseball, white with the blue that says AFAB fam on it.
Yeah.
Just feel like that might be kind of dope. But please take us into our first discussion topic of the day.
Yeah, man. No, that's great. We should always start with merchandise. Super Bowl wrap up, man. We saw a Cinderella-ish type run for Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. A lot of people thought they were maybe a year, maybe 2 years away, right? A good draft away from really contending in the AFC. And then we saw, right, the super team, right? The Avengers come together in LA and try to, stick all the veterans and all the pieces together. And it was a fun matchup, it was a great, that divisional and championship round, just a cardiac football.
Like the last 6 games that we got in the playoffs were nuts.
Absolutely nuts. Were. And I mean, even the Super Bowl, right? Super close. And one it sounds easy, right? But one block of Aaron Donald away from maybe Joe Burrow writing a fantasy ending to that game.
Like you said, it was a Cinderella story until the clock struck 12 and Joe Burrow's offensive line turned into a bunch of pumpkins.
Man.
So I think that's a pretty fitting analogy there. It was quite the Cinderella story for the Bengals, until they turned into pumpkins.
Oh yeah, man. Just
Eli Apple. If y'all want to go at Eli Apple, go ahead. I'm just saying that 97% of the corners in the league wouldn't have been able to cover Cooper Kupp 7 times in a row on the goal line. So
99%.
All you Giants and Saints fans out there that just want to throw shots at Eli Apple just because, please feel free. Go ahead.
Twitter lets you do that these days. Yep. Still makes you dumb. Yep. Yeah, you can. But looking at the Super Bowl, both of us and plenty of people thought that was a game that the Cowboys, could have or should have been playing in. What'd you look at, during the playoff run and in that Super Bowl game and take away, related to our beloved boys?
I've heard this question posed a lot, on the radio, Twitter, stuff like that. It's like, well, what can we learn from the Super Bowl teams, right? Whether it's the Rams or the Bengals. And I think the biggest thing to learn is that there's more than one ways to build a team, right? And that in today's NFL, if you have a top end quarterback and you can put a run of games together, anybody could be in the Super Bowl, right? Anybody could be playing in that game. When you look at it, both of these teams were the number 4 seed. They weren't the 1 seed, they weren't the 2 seed, they weren't the 3 seed, 4 seed, both of them. So we have 2 4 seeds competing for the best team in football. They weren't the best team in football all year round, right? Neither one of them were. But they get to the game, they put together, a string of games. I think you look at the roster construction, right? And I think for me, maybe there's kind of a middle ground, right, between the way the Rams have done things, the way that the Cowboys do things, and what you might like to see, right? Right. This is a great shirt to be wearing in a Super Bowl parade after you win, right? Because now it's valid.
My man was going hard. Right? I'm with it.
It works. But yeah, I do think that there's times where you want to see the Cowboys quote unquote, go all in a little bit more, around the trade deadline, stuff like that. I wasn't one that was pushing for a guy like an Odell or Von Miller necessarily, when it came to what I wanted the Cowboys to do. But I think a guy that, was talked about a little bit and probably not nearly enough was Melvin Ingram when the Steelers traded him to the Chiefs for like a 6th round pick or something like that.
For Cheerios.
Give me some of those guys.
Right.
Give me a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick and give me some guys that can upgrade my roster right now. An extra edge rusher would have been awesome. Right.
That Chiefs defense turned around. I mean, night and day
when they because you let Chandler Jones, not be blocked by the entire offensive line every play. You have somebody else to account for.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry,
yeah. I was like Chandler Jones.
No, the other Jones. Sorry. There's too many good Jones defensive linemen. That's what it is. Forgive me and thank you for correcting me. But yeah, I again, like we talk about, we're going to talk about the bulk of this show. I'm a big draft guy, right? I want my draft picks because I want my team to pick. I want the Cowboys to have those picks. So do I want to go give up 2 first-round picks this year and then another first-round pick next year and then a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd and a 4th? No, I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to be picking my first pick in the 80s and 90s, right? I do value those top-end picks. But I do wonder if there's not something to be said for how the league overvalues some of those picks, right? And I mean, even like Matt Stafford, right? These picks that the Lions are going to get, this first round, these 2 first-round picks, they're going to be like 32 and 27 the next 2 years, right? Would you trade 32 and 27 to go win a Super Bowl? Absolutely.
Right.
100%. So I don't know that I'm all in on this go for broke thing that the Rams did that the Bucks kind of did.
I was gonna say it's just a recency bias maybe on that, but yeah.
Because what's going to happen to the Rams in the next few years is what's happening to the Saints right now.
Exactly. I was going to say the Saints are going to be the cautionary tale without the Super Bowl.
Right. If in 2 or 3 years the Rams look the same way, Sean McVay is going to quit coaching for a year.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to walk away.
He's just going to
rearrange his life, and then
after he put the team $100 million in the hole, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not real big on that because there's no guarantee. Did it work for the Rams? Sure, it did, but it didn't work for the Saints. And now they're without a Super Bowl. They have a retired Hall of Fame quarterback and nothing else.
I did see, interesting enough, where you say, "Hey, that worked." There, one of the advanced stats, right? Wins above replacement. The 2021 Rams had the highest wins above replacement outside of the QB position in NFL history.
Wow.
Right. So they literally, if you want to take that as a measure of how good the supporting cast is, it's literally the best in history. Right.
That's wild.
So when you say, can we just go get a quarterback and plug him in and win? Sure. If you put together a historic team all time around him.
Yeah. If you go get Jalen Ramsey and Von Miller and you already have Aaron Donald. And to the point though, right? I don't want to take away from the Rams and say that they don't care about the draft or that they're a bad drafting team. Because you do have a lot of homegrown players, right? Most of their offensive line is homegrown. Their
couple of the skill positions. Yeah.
Aaron Donald, right? Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
Robert Woods is there, even a guy
Yeah.
like Van Jefferson who stepped in this year.
Yeah.
So there is still a balance even with the Rams, right? You know, we want to look at this and say they threw away all their picks, this and that, but I mean, they have done a lot of building through the draft. Conversely, the Bengals, you know, they built through the draft, but also a lot through free agency.
I was gonna say that defense is murder for hire.
They did. They did kind of what the Cowboys did this year. Defense.
Yeah.
So, you know, you say, can you learn from them? I think we kind of did the same thing, right? You know, we went out and got a couple free agents that weren't super high dollar figure, and we turned it into a solid defensive unit under the rule of Dan Quinn there. So yeah, you know, I think that there's kind of a balance in between, but honestly, the biggest thing to learn is that you can build a team however you want, and when you're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, you get to say that you built it the right way.
I think
when you're not, you get to say that you didn't.
Yeah, I think you know, constructions of the team is interesting, right?
Yeah.
And you are, you know, there's more than one way to skin the cat, because you know, before the Bucks and the Rams most recently, the thing was, let's get a cheap quarterback and, you know, build around them, and you know, that's what we're gonna do. You know, try to minimize our highest cost positions, right, by getting these great value contracts. I mean, and that can still work, right, if you get the personnel. What I look at from the Rams and the Bengals, I see two really elite coaching matchups as far as like, do I make adjustments, you know, in the game? Is my game plan, you know, flexible enough to take advantage of things that are going to be in this particular matchup, but still true to what we do, right? And do we have an identity? And you're talking about some really balanced teams too, right? You know, a very impressive, you know, looking at Cincinnati coming into the end of the season, I was kind of like, you know, I had posed to you in some personal conversations, who's going to stop them, right? And it's not because they have some like overflow.
Aaron Donald.
Right. It's not because they have some overflow of talent. I was looking at who, you know, who they have and what they asked them to do in the positions they put them in. I felt like the coaching and the personnel were like really a match made, you know, in heaven. And I mean, honestly, up until literally the last play of the season, it was going right. Like,
right. I mean, you get some people to competently block for Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott. And they look much
interior
better.
lineman.
He looks much better. You know, he had 9 sacks in a playoff game before the Super Bowl, where he got 6 or 7 sacks by the end of that game. He's the most sacked quarterback in playoff history by like 5 or 6 sacks. It's not even close. So, you know, if you want another lesson to take away from the teams, it's that offensive line is still important. So,
yeah, it absolutely is. You know, Aaron Donald's a game wrecker. They tried to game plan around it as much as they could, but some people are just too good. Hats off to the Rams. They won, you know.
Happy for you guys.
Let's reload and look at the next season. And this is where you win it, right? In the off season, right? This is where all the preparation starts, right? So this is where you get to nerd out, right?
Let's go, baby.
You know, let me before we even get into this, like 4 years ago-ish, remember, just unsolicited, you send me a mock draft board, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
I'm telling you, bro.
You think you Mel Kiper?
Yeah.
What you think? You think you McShay? What are you doing? And I was like, this dude is crazy. Nobody makes mock drafts in their free time, bro. Like, what are you doing?
It's a hobby,
right? But you know, the more you follow the team, then the more I think plugged in and interesting, you know, this part is, because you start following these people and you know, when you get that, what feels like the right fit, it just adds a whole new level of excitement, you know, for the upcoming season. Then you're into the OTAs and everything, right? Like, you want to hear everything. So,
well, excited. And we all know how I like having opinions, right?
I thought they were facts, but okay.
The more informed I am about things, I get to have opinions, and I get to state them as facts. To your point, right?
Yeah,
man, I do. I love the team building aspect, right? Even, I mean, you remember we used to play Madden Connected Franchise back in the day. My favorite part of playing Madden was drafting.
Yeah.
Building the roster, right?
Yeah,
like that's always what I wanted to do. I wanted to trade players. I wanted to draft the team.
Mad screenshots.
Look at right. I'll be telling you half the time, like, yo, Tyler, let me just join your squad, right? You play all the games, and I'll just draft the players, right?
Let me just be your GM, bro.
Yes, let me be your GM. I got you.
That was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
I am. I'm excited, and yeah, to your point, right? Just a few years ago, I was listening to guys on the 105.3 The Fan, Jeff Kavanaugh, Brian Broaddus. And man, they just get so passionate about that draft coverage, about watching these players. And then the way they describe players, right? The fluidity, the different terms that they speak of players in. Man, that stuff is just interesting to me, right? My analytical mind that wants to, dissect every little thing and see it for myself as fact. I don't know. It just really kind of spurned that fire in me a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it probably has been 3 or 4 years at this point, making my own draft board. This year, even gotten a little bit more into it where, I'm now building positional rankings too, not just the Cowboys draft board. So if you don't mind, I'd like to kick off just a couple positions today.
Yeah.
And we're going to start with the offensive tackles.
Yeah.
That's all right with everybody. Anybody hanging out in the chat, please let me know how wrong or right I am. Let me know if I missed somebody.
Super wrong.
I love all of your opinions, and I love all of you, even if I think you're wrong. More often than not. And also a quick shout out. I do got to shout out our guy Daniel real quick. Buddy Daniel, always in here on the show. He sent me a Snapchat just a few minutes ago, and he has our bright, beautiful faces actually sharing on his TV right now. And his daughter is like intently watching us
live in the living room.
Be on your best behavior, Tyler. We have young viewers hanging out with us. So shout out and what's up to Daniel, Megan, and the little ones as well. Love to see it. We love being a family show. Cool. So let's talk about offensive tackles. And I'm just gonna go through these 1 through 5.
Yeah.
This is not the end all be all by any means. When it comes to my rankings, let me give that little caveat first of all. Right. Daniel says she's got to learn.
Gotta learn, baby.
I love it. Start them early. I think I messed that one up with Emery because he still don't care. And he's 9. So
who's LeBron?
It's tough. Yeah, right. Only time he asks what number LeBron is when he's trying to stay up late at night. So I'm going to go through these. Like you said, quick caveat. This can move up and down. We still have a few months before the draft, right?
Yeah.
Combine's coming up. You never know when you're going to get another gas mask situation. So these are the current rankings, right? And these are the rankings according to Eli. So if I'm way off base, that's totally fine. I don't do this for a profession. Nobody pays me to do it. It's okay.
And Eli.
So just to kind of show how I'm reading this for everybody looking on, I've got ranked 1 through 5, and these are just the first 5 offensive tackles that I have personally looked at. And then in parentheses, kind of where I think that they'll go as far as, what round, where they're going to fall. Where you see that line there after Charles Cross at number 3, that's the end of the list of guys that I think will be unavailable to the Cowboys at 24. So just looking at that first round piece there. So for me, my offensive tackle rankings start with Evan Neal. He may be the number 1 pick in this draft.
Yeah.
I think you're probably going to look at him, the next guy on this list, and a couple of those pass rushers. I don't know if Thibodeau's in that mix anymore, but maybe Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. But there's a really good chance that Evan Neal out of Alabama is going to be that number 1 pick to the Jags. Again, we just talked about it a little bit with Joe Burrow, right? Got to protect the quarterback.
Got to protect the franchise, baby.
And I know the Bengals didn't decide to do that when they had, a top 6 pick last year and they took Jamar Chase, but you're not taking a wide receiver number 1, first of all. And I just think the Jags are in a different place, competition-wise. I don't think that an impact playmaker like that would really make that kind of a difference. So Evan Neal is number 1 on my board from offensive tackle. Probably if I was doing my own mock, which I'm not going to because that's a lot of work, and I don't know enough about all the other teams, but he would probably be going number 1. He's a great combination of size. I mean, the dude is like 6'7", 340.
Yeah, he's a monster.
So he's giant. But he's got, the athleticism, right? He's got good footwork, technically sound with his hands. You just don't see him get out of position a lot. You don't see him get beat a lot coming around the edge. He's kind of that prototypical left tackle, right? There's just not a lot of flaws in his game. I'm trying to see if I'm supposed to be able to see the chat on my full screen here, but it's not showing up. So
here you go.
Yeah, gotta protect.
I'll feed them to you as they come in.
Yeah. There we go. Because I can see them on my phone, but then I keep doing this thing, getting distracted here. Yeah, Daniel, and that's kind of why we're starting with offensive line. Because for me, that's probably priority 1 this off season,
right?
At least until we see what happens in free agency. But yeah, so Evan Neal, I mean, that dude is a stud. Cream of the crop. He's probably at least a top 3 offensive tackle in pretty much any other draft class. And for me, he's the top tackle currently in this class. Then you've got a guy who's probably the most fun to watch, as fun as offensive line tape can be. Because offensive line tape isn't super fun to watch. But Ikem Ekwonu out of NC State.
Yeah.
This dude, and let me not just overstate. He has the potential to be the best left tackle of the last 15, 20 years, probably.
Oh, wow.
But he doesn't know how to play the position.
Okay.
He has no idea what he's doing. But he's another one of those big dudes, and he out physicals everybody. It's insane to watch this dude put a body on another player. Doesn't matter who it is, first level, second level, give me an edge guy, give me a guy coming inside, give me a linebacker, blitzing, literally whatever. This dude is trying to bury everybody. But he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, right? He hasn't played the position that long. He's still learning a lot.
Okay.
But from like a potential standpoint, and this is where it kind of comes into, people's preference, right? Evan Neal is probably your most NFL ready tackle.
Right.
You feel good about him right now. Ikem Ekwonu is going to start because he's going to get drafted in the first 5 picks. So he is going to be a starter somewhere. But he still has a lot to learn about the position, his hand placement, his footwork. I think some of the better pass rushers are probably going to give him some trouble to start out. But if that dude hits his ceiling, I mean, Ikem Ekwonu is a monster. So anybody that likes offensive tackle tape, give that dude a look because he's a lot of fun to watch because he just wants to bury people. And that's pretty enjoyable to just count up how many times you can knock somebody on your ass. Third, and this is again kind of where I draw the line because I'm pretty confident this guy's not going to be there either. But you've got Charles Cross out of Mississippi State University. I think he's probably, the other guys you're probably top 5, maybe top 10. Cross is probably going to be his gap's probably a little bit wider, right? He could be a top 5 pick. So I think there's some people that may like him as much as or more than the other two. But I could also see him falling more in like the 15 range. I'd be very surprised if he gets past the first half of the first round, though. Charles Cross he's probably the most technically sound of the top 3. His footwork is good. His hand placement is good. He just doesn't really wow you anywhere, right? He doesn't wow you with his physicality. Players do usually get stronger in the NFL, right? So you could see that. But he doesn't wow you with his physicality. He's not running through people like Ikem. He's not this crazy athlete. But he's just really, really good. He's another guy. I mean, that's a plug and play starter day one. He knows how to do the job. If somehow Charles Cross got to you at 24, I would be very happy to run his card up to the table. But I don't think he's going to be there outside of the top 15. Daniel said, is Ikem worth trading up for if he falls? First and a third, Tyron's getting old. Well, so it depends on how far he's going to fall, right? Because first of all, it's for you to use a first and a third. If you're at pick 24, I mean, you're probably only going up 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah.
You're talking about a guy that would have to fall from like top 5 potential to like 18, 19, 20, 21. Right?
Yeah.
Or else you're talking about a first and a second. And if we're talking falls as in he's there at 10 and I want to go get him, you're probably talking this year's one, next year's one, and maybe some other stuff on top of that. It is very hard to win a trade in the NFL when you're trading up in the draft order. Now, in a vacuum, is he worth trading up for? Sure. If I could get a first and a third, I'm probably okay with that. Yeah, because I think that dude has stupid potential, right? And I don't know that the sum of your parts at pick 24 and then wherever your third round pick would compensate for a talent like that. So, yeah, I mean, if you're telling me that I can get a guy that's a top 5 talent on most people's board and all I need to give up is an additional third to move up from 24, then yeah, let's boogie.
Yeah.
But I doubt that would be the asking price, especially for an offensive tackle, right? That's second to quarterback,
right?
When it comes to position importance. So, let's boogie if it's there. But I doubt it would be there. Kind of be my thought there looking at Ikeem. But he is a lot of fun. I had some trouble there between him and Evan Neal. Neal just knows what he's doing too much, right? To me, it's too good of a bank, right? And I like high ceiling guy, but I think Evan Neal has a high ceiling, right? Like he's still a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah, he can still improve.
Just Ikeem's ceiling is Hall of Fame generational talent, right? But the perennial Pro Bowler that I feel really, really good about right now, day one, he could be a Pro Bowler within year 1, year 2. Yeah, let me have that guy. Especially a guy that went to Alabama. Let me have that guy. He knows how to win football games. Cool. So those are the top 3 guys that I'm looking at that I don't think you'll have a shot at
we'll
24. 4 and 5 on my offensive tackle list. Trevor Penning is one that I had a lot of trouble watching. He's another giant. He's like 6'7", 360 or something. So he's another giant.
He is 6'7", 322.
Yeah. He's another giant person, right? All these guys are big. They are. The guy next is a giant compared to all these giants, though.
So Northern Iowa.
Yeah, Northern Iowa. Trevor Penning. Man, when I watch him play, so he played left tackle for Northern Iowa. And this is going to sound like a slight because I don't really like Trevor Penning that much. Like I wouldn't be super excited if we took him at 24. But he kind of reminded me of La'el Collins a little bit when I was watching him. Right, which is a good thing because La'el Collins is a good offensive tackle. He's a good guard in the NFL. I don't know if Trevor Penning can be a left tackle in the NFL. I don't think his feet are quick enough. I don't think his second level blocking is good enough. I don't know. I like him maybe as like a right tackle, like La'el, right? Or maybe even as a guard, and that's where La'el was, when we started out. So that's kind of where my comp was with him was if you told me that he was going to play left guard next year and then we were going to move on from Tyron the year after that, and he was going to play left tackle his second season in the NFL, we'll see. I think I would prefer him at guard, but you give him a year in the NFL at guard and see what happens. Worst case, you have a solid starting guard because I do think he could capably handle, that guard duty. Best case, you have your replacement left tackle. So would I be doing backflips if we drafted Trevor Penning at 24? Me personally, no. I have they call this a cheater grade, some of the people that I watch. So I've got a 1-2 on him, right? So I don't have like a clear cut, yes, this guy should go in the first round. But I also got to
make a choice.
Right. But I also think that if you want this guy, you have to take him in the first round.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of when you see like these 1-2, the 2-3, stuff like that I'll put on some of these players. It's kind of that idea of, he may not be a first round talent,
but if we pass him,
want him,
you
got to take him in the first round. He's not going to be there at 56. It's not going to happen. Daniel, I love Tyron, but I see his over under at 9.5 games, and we need OT of the future. Yeah, right. And again, that's why Trevor Penning is going to be a guy that could interest you. If that's really where we're looking, which I think is smart, right? I was the guy beating the table for Rashawn Slater last year. I was trying to get our replacement left tackle last year.
Yeah.
But Penning, I think, is a guy that could come in and fill that left guard spot because I don't think Connor Williams is going to be coming back. I don't think anybody's excited about what we saw from Connor McGovern. So yeah, Penning could be a guy that interests you to slide him at left guard and then see if he can be your left tackle of the future, right? And if he's not, you still took a really good player with that first round pick. So wouldn't love it, wouldn't hate it. I'm kind of indifferent on Trevor Penning. I think I would just like to see him at guard more so than tackle right now. And then fifth on my list currently, and again, I just haven't watched a lot of the other tackles right now. Daniel Faalele, this is a guy that people in the draft community, like fans more so than analysts, I think, are enamored with. I mean, this dude is like 6'9", 360 or something like that, right? How big is he?
Yeah, that's right. 6'9", 350-ish.
Yeah, right. 6'9", 350. I mean, and when you see this dude on tape, like it is immediately discernible, like, oh yeah, he's right there. That's the guy that I'm watching on film because he's head and shoulders taller than everybody else on the field. It's insane.
Yeah.
The problem is he moves like he's a head and shoulders taller than everybody else on the field.
Yeah.
His footwork is not great, especially like his first step. It takes him 2, 3, 4 steps, right, to really get going. You see on film some of these faster edge rushers that give him some issues.
They'll just dance around him at that next level.
Yeah, I have a 2 on him right now because he is powerful, right? He does have potential. He's got the size, but I don't know. Honestly, that's one that I'm looking at that I may even personally drop him a little bit more. Yeah. I think that 2 is probably more biased from everybody else that I listen to and stuff like that.
Sure.
Because there are a lot of people that like him, in that top 50 mix. I don't know if he's worthy of a top 50 pick. Honestly, like, so the Cowboys pick at 56.
Yeah.
If they took Daniel Faalele at 56, I don't know. I think I'd like Penning better at 24 than Faalele at 56. So I'm not a huge fan of his. He could be one that moves to like a 2, 3, or maybe even just a solid 3rd round grade after I look at some of these other guys. Yeah, I didn't love Daniel Faalele's tape. It's fun because he's a giant human being.
What if Shaq played football?
He's like supersized Tyron Smith,
Yeah.
But he's not as good as Tyron Smith. So
yeah.
So those are my tackles 1 through 5. Like I said, let me know. Yay or nay.
It's good work. It's good work, draft guru.
Ooh, am I a guru already?
Oh, yeah, sure to me, because I don't watch the film. I'm taking your word for it, buddy. Once it for me, I'm not a follow every prospect kind of person, but once it, we're getting closer to the draft and we're narrowing down some of the people that the Cowboys specifically are going to pick, that's when I'll probably start peeking in on diving in heavier on their tape, right?
Yeah, and I think of that
how
list,
they can help the team.
Yeah, of that list, I think your names to know for the Cowboys are Trevor Penning and then Faalele, right? Depending on where Faalele falls, but at 24, Trevor Penning is definitely a name to know. He could be a name that's gone before 24 as well. So definitely keep an eye on Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa.
That makes sense, man.
If you're like Daniel and you're looking for an offensive tackle.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, man.
Not a bad decision.
No, that's it. And I mean, look, offensive line is definitely going to be a priority. Can we protect Dak? Is Tyron healthy? We don't have interior linemen. These are legitimate, things to be brought up. So, those are the OTs, but I'm sure we'll get into some of the guards and other linemen.
There's just not enough of those interior linemen that are worthy of like a top 50 pick right now. So I got some more work to do with those. But I'll hit on a couple of those though.
Heard that. But them safeties though,
Oh,
then what about them safeties? Now last year we had some nice surprises, right? We had Malik Hooker, Damontae KZ, Jaron Kearse, right? All free agent acquisitions. We've been hurting. Jeff Heath was starting safety here for a long time. So, that just is what it is, right? We looking at the safety rankings today, and there are some names on this list that you have been particularly excited about because you keep mentioning them.
I got a couple.
Every chance you
get.
A couple. But there's some athletic dudes on here, like some game changers. Not that I mean, secondary is important because of how much the passing league is, but you want some really smart, really diverse safeties, right? That you can move around the field, play coverage, play the run, call my defense, get in and out of multiple sets without, changing my personnel. So talk to us about these safeties, man.
Yeah. And I think to your point, right, last year we saw what the difference can be with a good safety room, right? With some competent players there. Jaron Kearse played at a damn near Pro Bowl level, right? Malik Hooker and Kazee, provided a good 1-2 punch.
Absolutely.
Out there in the backfield. Even Donovan Wilson when he was healthy, we had a nice rotation of safeties. So of course, the need standpoint for the Cowboys could absolutely change. We haven't even hit free agency, anything like that. I would still guess that at least one of those safeties is coming back, whether it's Jaron Kearse, Malik Hooker. But as it stands right now, safety is one of your biggest needs on your team because you've got Donovan Wilson and the rookie corner that you drafted last year that you moved to safety, Israel Mukuamu.
And that's it.
Like
those are the only ones under contract. Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
Hooker was on a 1 year because he was on a 1 year. Kearse was on a 1 year. So you basically got Dono and a guy who hasn't played the position before. That's your safety room.
Yay.
So until we hit free agency and see some more stuff, safety is going to continue to be a very big position of need. And, I've really gotten into the safety stuff this year. Recent years, the Cowboys obviously haven't valued the safety position. We haven't drafted one highly in a decade or more, right? The league doesn't always value safety super highly. But I think what you started to see, especially with, the way defenses were playing the Cowboys and the Chiefs and the Rams and some of these other, spread them out, high-powered offenses, is that cover 2 look, right? So you're going to take your 2 deep safeties and you're going to split half the field. So I need a guy that's got to be able to take half a field, right? I also need a guy like Jaron Kearse who can get down in the box. I also need a guy who can cover in the nickel, right, or the slot and cover the tight ends, or, whoever it may be, the running backs in the slot. I need guys that can do all of these things, or else the safety position isn't very valuable. But I do think that there's a few guys on here that we can look at that are pretty valuable from that safety position. That can do a lot of these different things. To Daniel's point, right? We haven't had a great safety since Darren Woodson. And I don't even need a great one. I just need a competent one, right? Just be good at football. And be able to do more than 1 or 2 things, right? I don't want you to just be able to hit, i.e. Jamal Adams, right? And I don't want you to just be able to cover. You got to be able to do a little bit of all of it. Daniel, that's the other thing that we never focus on, right? Our interior defensive line. We got to have that safety play, got to have that play coming up the middle. So I've got 6 guys on my safety list right now.
Okay.
Number 1, and again, you see the line after his name. Kyle Hamilton, dude out of Notre Dame. I've got him currently as a top 10 talent. I doubt he'll fall again out of the top 15 if he does come out of the top 10. Could be just positional value, right? That he lands more in the 14, 15 range, something like that, which would be terrifying for the record because that's where all the Eagles picks are.
Lord, no.
So please don't let Kyle Hamilton fall to the Eagles. That would be terrible. But Kyle Hamilton, that dude's a monster. He's like 6'4". He's sideline to sideline. He can cover. He can tackle. He comes downhill. Kyle Hamilton's a monster. By far and away the number 1 safety in this class. He's your prototypical safety plus like 2 inches, and he can do it all at that height. So Kyle Hamilton is a stud, and he will not be there. 24.
So thanks, Kyle Hamilton. We'll watch your highlights.
Thanks for being awesome, Kyle Hamilton. See, I even like those players though, right? Because every time they get picked, it just pushes another guy down the board, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's okay that he's going to go. That's fine. I don't mind that at all. Kyle Hamilton, and in my mind, Kyle Hamilton is probably what we got. Eagle players. Just such an adolescent.
That's the commentary we're here for right there.
Yep, it's good. It's solid. Good. Great insult.
We do.
But in my mind, Kyle Hamilton is probably the only The only player worthy of a first round grade. Now, might he be the only safety picked in the first round? No. You know, we've seen that before, right? And just for reference for everybody, a lot of times you'll see when you look at players' boards, they're only going to have 15 to 20 players with a first round grade, right? So we know 32 players get picked in the first round. Right. So there's going to be some players that have second round grades.
But I was about to say that back half is just guessing.
Right. Guessing. Right. But that's where, you get to kind of do the cheater and kind of throw the 1-2 in there, right? And say, okay, this guy's not really a first round talent, but I think he could go in the first round. And again, like we talked about with Trevor Penning, if you want him, you got to take him in the first. So my number 2 safety right now is going to be Daxton Hill out of Michigan. Daxton Hill is a lot of fun. And he's a guy that does everything pretty well. He's a guy that played a lot of nickel corner. Yeah, right, Daniel. I agree. It is kind of weird. Passing league doesn't respect the safety position. But again, I think it's got to be the right safety, right? So I do feel that you can't just give me a box safety and you can't just give me a guy that can cover. My guy's got to be able to do it all. But Daxton Hill is a guy that you watched actually play a lot of that nickel corner, right? Where he was the tight end guy, the running back guy, opposite the slot. So that's not really a projection, right? He can play that. He can cover that. So if you're looking for a guy that kind of did, maybe like a Byron Jones did when we had him as a safety back in the day, kind of be that tight end specialist, Daxton Hill can do that. He's also not afraid to mix it up, though. Daxton Hill, he'll come forward, he'll hit. He's a sure tackler. Daxton Hill's a good player. He's also a player, he can definitely do that deep half of the field, right? Split the field in half, give him one side, and he can cover it. So he's a rangy guy. He can play man coverage up at the line. He can play in the box if you need him to. He can come downhill. He can blitz a little bit. If you want to send him on one of those safety blitzes, you wouldn't hate sending that guy to do it. So Daxton Hill is a really well-rounded player. I don't think the Cowboys will take a safety in the first round, regardless of what we do. When it comes to free agency, they got to make me see it to believe it, right? Yeah. I'm even apprehensive that they take one in the second round, but I would be very surprised unless we did something where, Daniel was talking about moving up in the draft. I could see us move down, right? Maybe you move down 5-6 spots, pick up a third or a second, right? And you use Daxton Hill as your pick at, 30 or 28 or something like that. Yeah. Instead of at 24, but you pick up an extra second or third. Yeah. Daxton Hill is a really, really good player. Like Daxton Hill a lot out of Michigan. My number 3 safety and probably the biggest point of contention with literally everybody, but I'm not letting it go until I definitively see proof that these other guys are better. Lewis mother effing Cine, my guy. This dude. So let me just rewind a little bit on safety tape real quick. Safeties are boring as hell to watch. Because safeties in college just kind of stand, right? They do the deep half thing, or they're at the top of the court. You can't even see them, right? Unless you're doing the bird's eye view most of the time. And, a run play goes 3 yards. Safety's not getting there, right? Pass play goes to the left side of the field. He's on the right side. The safety's not doing anything there. He's just playing zone. So safety tape is actually pretty boring to watch most of the time. Lewis Cine, I was watching Nakobe Dean, Georgia's linebacker that's going to be a first-round prospect, and I kept seeing Lewis Cine. Because every run play, left, right, didn't matter. And tackles for loss, this dude was 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage. So Lewis Cine will absolutely come downhill. He will lay the wood. That dude will hit you. I like his coverage ability, I think, better than some. I haven't really seen a lot of gaps in his coverage. I will say you probably don't see him in the man-up situations as much as like a Daxton Hill. But that's just the way that Georgia played their defense, and Georgia had, stud players all across that defense. So, they didn't have to use him that way like that. Yeah, Daniel, safety tape is safety tape is not the most enjoyable stuff to watch. Yeah. But that's why I like Lewis Cine so much, because I'm telling you, man, I wasn't even watching him the first time I saw him. Because he always want to get in the mix, you could tell. Now I think he will probably go below Brisker and maybe even Petrie, partly because his size. He's not a super imposing guy. He's like 6 foot, 195, something like that, somewhere in that range, 190 to 205, something like that. So he's not a super big guy. He's not really tall, right? He's not 6'4" like Kyle Hamilton is. But I don't know, man. I just, I watch him on tape and I see a good football player. I see a guy who wants to get in the mix. I see a guy who wants to come downhill. And that's really important, right? When these blockers start getting to the second level, if my linebacker can't shed the block, I don't really want my safety 15 yards down the field trying to make a play, right? I want him right there behind that second level of the defense. So yeah, right now for me, Lewis Cine is my number 3 safety. I have not been swayed off of that yet, but I'm basically alone in the world with that take, so we'll see. The guy that most people have next here is going to be Jaquan Brisker. And I think the last show that we did, we actually had somebody asking about the safety out of Penn State.
Yeah.
Jaquan Brisker is really good. I don't remember who it was, but Jaquan Brisker is really good, man. And he's another one of those guys, kind of like Daxton Hill, that he just does everything well. There's not any major holes in his game. He's probably a little bit more trustworthy than Cine when you look at pass coverage. You probably would trust Brisker a little bit more. He's going to be a little bit better size-wise, right? A little bit more prototypical from the safety. I think he's 6'1", maybe, more in that 2 to 215 range. So he's a little bit bigger, 6'1", 6'2". It's a little bit bigger than Cine is. He's a sure tackler. He's a really good tackler coming forward, good tackler in space. I am enamored with Lewis Cine, so he gets to go over Brisker. But if I'm looking at it, those two guys are, right there next to each other, right? It's really more like 3A and 3B.
Yeah.
I like Brisker a lot. Number 5 on the list, and this was actually a guy that if we would have done this show a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, like we were planning to originally, Jalen Pitre is probably not even on this list. And if he is, he's at the bottom of the list. I had him initially slated as more like a 4th round guy, maybe 3rd round because of his traits, because this dude is a physical monster, right? Like he's gonna test through the roof. Good size, like 6'2", 6'3". He's fast, he's physical. But when you watch him in Baylor, they just don't ask him to cover a whole lot. He plays a lot down in the box. He plays the run game really well. He's around the line a lot. So you just didn't know if he could cover. So he goes to Senior Bowl, right, 2 weeks ago. Fast forward to that, and he blows everyone away. I mean, this dude is covering all the wide receivers. He plays well in the game. Jalen Pitre, if he can cover like he looked like in those individual drills, Jalen Pitre could very
I saw a couple saw a little bit of tape from his Senior Bowl stuff. I remember because I think he had a viral highlight where he runs through the end of a catch and they're like tumbling over in the end zone and he takes it away from him one-handed. So dude definitely made a nice little name for himself.
Well, and really the thing, I mean, you're looking at the game with the Senior Bowl, right? But it's really the practices before, too.
It's the one-on-one.
You get so much of the individual, right? The one-on-one drills, so you really get to see, like, hey, can he cover one-on-one? And all the reports coming out of Mobile at the Senior Bowl is that this dude blew everybody away with the coverage. He's a physical freak. He's going to be an athletic nightmare. Jalen Pitre could very easily be the 3rd guy off this board. And depending on how he tests and kind of how the rest of the draft process goes, don't be surprised if Jalen Pitre is a guy that sneaks into the back end of that 1st round with a guy like Daxton Hill. So he's number 5 on my board right now, but I could definitely see him going a lot higher. It's hard to move a guy up. Like I already moved him up a round and a half, 2 rounds, something like that. Just off of 1 week in Mobile, Alabama, right? So I think he is a 2nd round talent. I think that's where he should go. I think that's probably where he will go. But I could definitely see him sneaking in the back half of that 1st round. And I could certainly see a team liking him more and his potential more than a guy like Cine or Brisker. And then last on that list, and I haven't seen a whole lot of Kirby Joseph. Just another name to know there. If we don't look in those first 2 rounds, maybe a guy to look at in the 3rd round. Kirby Joseph out of Illinois, he does a solid player, right? Yeah. He doesn't wow you anywhere when it comes to size, physicals, coverage, in the box. But he's just good. You know, he can handle it. Pretty much anything that you ask of him from a safety position, I think, and will probably be a decent enough plug and play starter week 1 if you needed him to be. So, safety rankings.
Safety. Oh man, I mean, you know, that's gonna be, you know, one of those positions that, like you said, through free agency will become a little clearer, but it's probably one we're gonna, you know, be picking somebody up in. So definitely interesting to see how that shakes out. See if some other people move up the board there. But
we'll do all the other positions later, guys.
Yeah.
It's too much talking.
It's too much. You know, we're looking at, you know, the position, you know, so we're picking 24. And you know, those, you know, offensive tackle and safety, there's gonna be a couple of guys that may be hanging around, you know, at that point for us. But what are some of those other names we need to know at 24?
Yeah, and I'm not going to go through all of these guys. And this isn't even my full list at 24.
There's like some honorable mentions today.
Yeah, there's like 20 names at 24.
Yeah.
So. But I mean, and that's, you know, that's kind of the cool thing with this draft. You know, there's a lot of people talking about, you know, we feel good about like the top 10 to 15 picks. But outside of that, who knows?
Who knows, baby?
You know, some of these guys that we're going to talk about, when you look at mock drafts, they have them going number 10 to the Jets. And then they have them going number 32, right?
Yeah.
To the Lions, right? Yeah. The same guy.
Those mocks are wild right now. It's wild.
They are. And I think that, you know, when you look at the draft this year, there's not a lot of like super heavy, like top heavy talent, right? Like a couple tackles are solid. There's a couple of edge rushers that are solid, a couple corners. There's not any elite quarterbacks, right? So it's going to be an interesting draft. But I think that any of these guys could be there. They could also all be gone in the first 15 picks, right? You know, at any point. But just a couple.
Linderbaum's one of those ones that you keep seeing attached to the Cowboys. Yep. I think it's more the thirst for interior, you know, upgrades and maybe more hopeful, you know, thinking. But it's certainly possible that he's, you know, around there at that time. You know, you see mocks where he's going in the early teens. You see mocks that drop him, you know, through the end of the first round. So definitely that's one of the guys, him and Green, that I keep hearing, you know, hey, watch out for them. They're gonna be there. And I think, like I said, just more, I think, is it possible? Yeah, of course. But you know, just the thirst, right? Because can we get a good guard or center at 24? We're gonna jump all over that, right? So
right. I think Daniel had a question in the chat. If you want to throw that up.
Does he?
Thought I saw one pop up.
Yeah.
And I love this discussion. Best player available, or is the need too big? I'm always going to be a best player available guy, right? Really, you've done it 2 years in a row. Even though I didn't love Micah Parsons, I didn't love that pick at the time. The Cowboys took their best player on their board. CeeDee Lamb. We didn't need a receiver, right, with Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper on the roster. They took the best player on the board.
Yeah.
I think it's worked out 2 years in a row. You know, CD is a solid receiver, even if he's not getting 1,500 yards a year yet like we think he should. And Micah Parsons is a super freak, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm always going to be best player available. Now, I do think that there has to be a caveat on that, though, right? Like, if the best player on my board is a quarterback, I'm sorry, all of you Dak haters, but I'm not drafting a quarterback at 24 because my quarterback is under contract for $40 million a season. So, like, I'm not doing that. You know, so I think there are some caveats there, right? You know, I think you have to look at the depth of the position, not only on your team, but throughout the draft when it comes to that discussion. But just in a vacuum, give me best player available every time. Give me best player available. When you draft for need, you get in trouble and you make bad draft picks. So we've done a pretty good job at not doing that. But yeah, so your first couple guys that you mentioned there, just for everybody's reference, when we look at this order, this is my current preference as far as where I would take them if all of these people were available at pick 24.
Yeah.
Of course, they will not be, but this is my particular preference. So Linderbaum is number 1 for me right now. I know we have Tyler Biadasz. Would it be the worst thing in the world if we went into the next season with Tyler Biadasz? No, it wouldn't be. But in terms of that discussion with Daniel, I mean, he is certainly the best interior lineman on the board in the draft class period.
Yeah.
If you want to replace your starting center, you need to draft Tyler Linderbaum. I don't think that there's going to be, maybe one or two guys that surprise you in the second, third, fourth round that end up playing good center, like Creed Humphrey last year. But from a prospect standpoint, if you want to replace and upgrade Tyler Biadasz right now, it's got to be Tyler Linderbaum. So if he's there at 24 and that's something that you want to do, you got to pull the trigger. Second name on there, Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green is a lot of fun, man. That dude played 4 out of the 5 offensive line positions last year. So he played both tackle spots, both guard spots, kicked ass at all 4. And in 2020, just because he played 1 snap at center. So Kenyon Green has technically played all 5 offensive line positions at one point or another in his career. But that dude is, he's going to be good in a zone scheme or in like a power run scheme. I think he can do whatever. He's definitely a bigger body, kind of the mauler type guy at guard. So if you want somebody that's going to be physical, he can do it. You do worry maybe just a little bit about some of those second level reach blocks because of his size, and he's just not going to be the greatest athlete. Whereas a guy like Linderbaum is going to test as a phenomenal athlete when it's comparative to center. But that's because Linderbaum is maybe a little bit undersized for people, right? So then it comes to that preference of, do I want a 290-pound center that can snap the ball and get to the second level of the defense quicker than they can move forward, or get to the D tackle to the right of him quicker than he can move forward? Or do I want that guard that's going to fit in just about any run scheme? It's going to be a good pass blocker, but, maybe some issues getting to the second level of the defense. I do think one of those two will be there. I don't know which one. We'll just see what NFL teams like. I don't think both of them will be there, but I do think one of them will be there. So as it stands today, my pick would be one of those 2 offensive linemen. Third on my list, linebacker out of Georgia, Nakobe Dean. My guy, Nakobe Dean. That dude is a supercomputer. It's insane. Like, there are other linebackers in this draft that played for Georgia that are going to be top 50 pick, top 70 pick, maybe even another one like Quay Walker sneaks into the first round, or Channing. I think Channing Tindall was the other one that's in that top 50 mix. This dude, when you watch Nakobe Dean on tape, he is literally pushing these guys out of the way to get to the spot before them because he sees it that quick. So again, like, I'm talking about a defense full of first, second, third round talent, and Nakobe Dean is processing so fast that, like, he has to get them out of his way. It's actually pretty insane.
I just remember during that national championship game, my man, one of his teammates, obviously, but one of his teammates near the goal line made an incorrect read, but they saved the play. When he got up in that stadium on the mic, you could hear him.
Yep.
Right. And his team, and you talk about the leadership, right? Because his teammate immediately was like, "My bad, I know. My bad, I know." And he's laying into him right then. And then they got it done. And I believe they made a stop on that possession. You just talk about, so when you talk about supercomputer, a guy that's getting there before, even, other talented people, we seen that in real time. And I remember just being like, wow, that dude, not only did he make the play, and he gets up immediately and coaches his teammate. That's the leadership you want on the field.
Yeah, you want a guy to quarterback your defense for the middle linebacker position, go get Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean is a stud. He's sideline to sideline. He blitzes coming forward. Now, it's not going to be, a Micah Parsons type situation coming off the edge. But maybe more of like a Devin White coming through the middle type.
Coming through the line,
But he is a good blitzer coming through the line. But I think if that's a guy, because linebacker is going to be another probably position of need for you, right? Right now, you've got Micah, who obviously can rush the passer from the edge, so you don't want him to be a full-time linebacker, right? Then you've got Jabril Cox, who had half of a rookie season and barely played before he tore his ACL. And then you got Francis Bernard, who is an undrafted free agent that's been on your roster for like 2 years. And that's it. Right? You don't have Keanu Neal unless you bring him back. You don't have Leighton Vander Esch unless you bring him back. You don't have Jalen Smith because you cut him.
Yeah.
So like linebacker is going to be, if Nakobe Dean is there looking at me in the face in 24, if I had those other two guys too, that's going to be a hard decision to make between those three players. Nakobe Dean is an absolute stud. And I think the reason that you could see a guy like him fall as far as 24, because he really is a top 10 talent in this draft, I think. But he's Roquan Smith size, right? Who is the kid that the Chiefs drafted last year in the second round?
Bolton.
Out of Missouri. Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
He's Nick Bolton, but, on steroids with his processing and athleticism. Because he does, man. He reads every play. He makes the right read every time. He can get sideline to sideline. He can cover in pass protection or in pass plays. Nakobe Dean's a stud. If he falls to 24, let me have him. Let him and Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons just destroy the league from the second level of the defense. And we'll all have a good day. Then I just want to finish on a couple wide receivers. And I think I'm good because we're just going to talk about these positions later on anyway.
Yeah. We don't have to go to, yeah.
But I think Garrett Wilson, probably the consensus number one wide receiver right now. I'm not ready to say that he's not going to be there at 24, but I really don't think he will because it would just be weird for the first wide receiver to go at pick 24. But we saw a couple years ago with a guy like CeeDee Lamb where we had Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy that pushed him kind of down into that range. Garrett Wilson, he could be there. And if he is, Garrett Wilson is the best wide receiver in this draft class. He's a good route runner. He's good downfield. He's good athleticism. He's a smart receiver. He knows how to get open in space. Garrett Wilson's a lot of fun. My personal favorite wide receiver, not favorite enough to put him over Garrett Wilson just yet because I'm a coward. But Treylon Burks out of Arkansas is so much fun. You got to be careful, right? It's like, okay, did I just really enjoy watching this guy, or is he better than the other guys? I don't think that Treylon Burks is a better wide receiver than Garrett Wilson, but holy hell. If you want a Deebo Samuel, which I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want one after what he's been doing to the league this last year or so, but in a Dez Bryant body, Treylon Burks is your man. This dude is like 6'3", 225, but he can play in the backfield, in the slot. You can put him out wide, run the little gadget plays, run the quick screen, run the literally whatever.
You
just
want.
Give him the ball and let him do something with it. My guy, Treylon Burks, is going to be a fun player in the NFL. And if you feel good, which I know most of us don't, but if you could feel good about our offensive coaching staff's ability to work in a guy like him and create plays for him, it would be a lot of fun to watch him and CeeDee Lamb trade positions in the slot and outside. Daniel, actually, this is a discussion that I've heard quite a bit, and I know you listen to The Fan a lot too. So I wonder if you listen to Broadus kind of bring up this point because he's been hammering this thing home for the last week or two. Yeah, Daniel says team building time. Trade Amari for a pick. Let's go get Treylon Burks. Man, I'll take Treylon Burks even if Amari is on this team. Whatever. That's fine. I still need 3 receivers, and I don't have them right now. I have CeeDee Lamb and Semi Fehoko. So I don't have 3 receivers. Give me both of them. That's totally fine. But, yeah, there's just been Brian Broadus on The Fan. He's been talking a lot the last couple weeks because we've talked about it a little bit, the possibility that Amari Cooper could be a cap casualty. Cowboys save $16 million this year if they release him before the 5th day of the league season, which is March 16th. Don't quote me on that, but it's about a month from now that they have to basically make this decision. And you would save the same amount of money if you traded him by that time. So Broadus has kind of been throwing out this idea of like, hey, what if I packaged Amari Cooper and pick 24 and I went up to like number 10 to the Jets? Because number 10 is where a lot of these mocks have the first wide receiver, being Garrett Wilson, going to the Jets at number 10. So Broadus is kind of like on this, like, hey, what if like we trade our contract guy because you're the Jets and you're a bad team, and you have money, and we take the risk on the receiver that's not established, and we'll give you an established veteran wide receiver to go pair with your young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting proposition, and specifically with the Jets, because you looking at a team where, you know, we got to give Zach Wilson something to throw at, right?
Right.
I mean, they showed some flashes last year, but you add in a solid veteran, you know, piece like that, especially because like Amari is not old, but he's a veteran. You know,
so, yeah, he's like 26, 27. He's
young. You know, you that's interesting for certain.
I just wonder what his draft value
is. Hadn't really thought. Yeah, that too.
You know,
hadn't really thought about, you know, that particular situation, but it's interesting. You know, trades are made by, you know, just those needs, and you know, would
a receiver be who you're going to get in that situation?
That would be,
because to Daniel's point right earlier was talking about a guy like Ekwonu. Like if Ekwonu sitting there at 10
for me, I'm thinking
you trade Coop in 24, go get your tackle, and then find a receiver later.
Unless you're telling me Treylon Burks is a generational wide receiver talent, or like
I don't think anybody in this class is a generational.
Yeah, or even like 2 or 3 years I'll dominate, you know, the league, or you know, be up there. I mean, maybe, but if we can get up there, I think there's some other things we'd be looking at besides Treylon. But
yeah, and I think we're going to talk receivers here in the next week or two, and I'll just tell you guys from what I've got so far, second and third round is going to be a good spot for wide receiver, just like it is every year, right? We got Gallup in the third round. A lot of people looked at him as a potential second round guy. So I think there's going to be some receivers there, but it's definitely an interesting conversation, right? You know, of would I do that to save the money? And you got to tell me what you're going to do with that $16 million too. Does that mean that I get to keep Tank so I don't have to cut him anymore? Does that mean Randy's coming back, right? Does that mean J-Ron Curse is coming back? Does it mean Michael Gallup is coming back? Right? You know, if you're selling me on this idea of I'm going to go get a rookie wide receiver at 10 and I'm going to bring Gallup back on a 1 or 2 year deal at $8 million a year, and I'm going to have Garrett Wilson or Treylon Burke instead of Amari Cooper. So my receivers are Burke, Wilson / CD, and Gallup. I'm probably down with that. I'm probably down with that. But we'll talk receivers more in depth another time, because I have some other thoughts about, you know, kind of what we might be looking at from a receiver positioning. But I think that's all we got for this evening. We're just a tick over an hour. I've got lasagna coming out the oven, and I'm pretty sure we either have some 2K or some division to play. So, you know, very, very busy evening awaits us, sir.
Well, I'm going to do some family time first. But
well, yeah, you know, me too with my lasagna.
Okay. yeah. But yeah, we'll get into, you know, a little more regular schedule over the off season, and get through some of these position groups, go through some more of the mock drafts. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate the engagement as always. But that's it. I'm good.
Holla peeps. AFAB out.